Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A couple of months ago, Ms. Lockhart had the brilliant idea to create a version of TED Talk for our school. The intention was to find students or staff who had an inspirational story they wanted to share with the Culver City community.
Our ASB Special Events Coordinators, Gabriela Lopez, Andrea Pastor, and Melanie Acora, were able to make this idea a reality. As you may know, we have a fundraiser going on within Culver City High School to raise money for leukemia patients.
Now, I assure you, we have a very special night planned out for you, including speeches varying from personal stories to how society views certain ideas.
Now, without further ado, we present to you My Miracle in Motion.
Good evening, parents and students and friends. In the fall of 2008, my husband and I had been trying to conceive a child with many complications and many reports back and forth to the hospital. At the end of the fall of 2008, I was able to tell my husband, James, I'm pregnant. For you guys, you don't know what that feels like. But for a mother who had been trying, that was the most wonderful moment of my life. So, a couple of months later, or a couple of weeks later, we went to the doctor to go through our regular doctor visits for having a baby, and I had an ultrasound. And with the ultrasound, it's like a gel go in your stomach, and then they take a tool, and they're able to measure the baby's head, the baby's body, just to make sure that the baby doesn't have any abnormalities, or the baby is measuring where they should be. So my husband and I were joking, laughing, but the ultrasound tech became quiet for a brief second. And we didn't pick up on her nonverbal cues. She walked out of the door, and then she walked back into the door before she walked back in with the doctor. The doctor said, well, you know, I see something strange on the ultrasound. And I was like, well, what do you see? And she said, well, your child has a mass on her neck. And I said, okay. She said, well, the mass can fall off, or the mass will remain on her neck. But typically, children who have this mass on their neck, they're diagnosed with Down syndrome. I'm like, yeah, right. Me? Of course. So, after we got the final results back that our daughter would be born with Down syndrome, it was devastating. The pain, the bitterness, the heartache, and the emotional detachment all came tumbling on me at one time. I was just straight depressed for 5 months. My nights and days were long. I cried hysterically to myself and in the shower because I didn't want my husband to see me so sad. But on August 22nd, 2009, Jillian graced us with her presence. It was hard for me to wrap my mind around having a child with a developmental disability, but I knew in the back of my mind there was a reason why I was having this child with a disability. But I just kept saying, why me? Why me? Why do I have to have a child with a disability? I've done all the societal accurate things in life. I just kept saying, why me? Why me? For the first 3 years of Jillian's life, I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. Because my friends had kids with me as well. They were walking at the certain time that you're supposed to walk. They were talking at the time that kids are supposed to talk. They were eating with a spoon and fork, drinking at the appropriate time, but not my Jillian. So that made me very embarrassed and ashamed. But my spirit being kept telling me, this child is going to be your miracle in motion. This child is going to be the child that is going to make you change for the better. So, before she entered into my life, and this is Jillian right here, I would go to work and just do a job. But now my passion for students of all abilities and disabilities have increased to the highest level possible. I look at every student as if they're my own student. And a lot of kids in here can tell you that to this day. My empathy for children, my compassion is just so deep, it's beyond belief. Even more so for parents. Sometimes I'm on the phone with a parent for 45 minutes because they just want to vent. They want to vent because of their children's study skill habits or the lack thereof, or just because their child is not being as successful as they think they should. But I'm always able to tell parents, accept your child for who they are. Love them. Guide them. Direct them. An author, Sarah Whalen, wrote an article entitled, Meet Your Kids Where They Are. From this article, I learned so much about me as a mom and educator. One of the things that I learned is that my child nor my students may always meet my expectations, but the success level that they have is the best. If they have given their absolute best, I am a proud mommy and a proud educator. I would like to say to you, Jillian, thank you, Jillian, for making mommy to be a patient, passionate, proactive, and positive educator. I accept this challenge, Jillian. Thank you.
Evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jonathan Laughlin, and I'm going to be talking about the importance of responsibility at an early age. And when I say responsibility, I mean an extremely large sum of responsibility. So I'll start off with my early life. So my parents were 18 years old when they had me. They actually went to this high school, Culver City High School. I was 6 months old. Thank you. I was 6 months old when they actually graduated on the same field, at the football field. I had my own little cap and gown. It was really cute. I wish I had a photo, but sorry about that. Besides that, and young couples have a, sort of a honeymoon sort of time. But then after that, after a couple of years, it really went downhill. They separated, arguments, fights, child services came in, and, a bunch of court. And basically, court was telling me, who do you want to live with, your mom or your dad? That kind of whole thing. And so it's kind of hard for a young kid to decide that at 7 years old, right? So everything kind of culminated in 2008. And in 2008, my father got deployed to Iraq, and my mother was sent to jail. And so I started falling behind in school, and I didn't really know what to do with my life. And the teachers were noticing me falling behind, and they're asking like, "Hey, what's up with this Jonathan kid?" And because I didn't care about school at that point because there's two things on my mind. Is my father still alive, and is my mom okay? Right? I assume that everyone would feel the same way if they're in the same situation. So my father was in the Marine Corps, and he became a deputy sheriff, and I looked up to that and I said, you know what? I want to do something greater than myself, and I want to do something that I know would help benefit others, not just myself. And so in 2014, actually at the high school here, I saw a flyer that said Police Explorer Program. And I said, what is that? I looked into it, and it looked really cool because I want to be in law enforcement, I want to be in the military, and this seemed like a good stepping stone. So I basically assumed the responsibility. So I signed up for this program and I got in. So the Explorer Program, it was maybe the hardest thing I've ever done in my life so far. So first of all, the physical aspect of it, I remember one time we had to run 4 miles with a 20-pound gear belt on. I felt like passing out the whole time. But I told myself I wasn't going to quit because I didn't want to, basically we had a name tag, and on your name tag I had your last name and the department you're from. And what you do is if you quit, you roll it up and you put it into this bucket with the rest of the quitters. And I kept telling myself, I'm not going to put the tag with my family's name on it, Laughlin, into that bucket with the quitters. That's not what I'm going to do, not today. So I didn't quit, I stuck with it. And it taught me a lot about responsibility. So before that, growing up, I kind of raised myself. I didn't see my dad. I lived with my father. Didn't see him that often, maybe 3-4 times a week. Because he worked a lot. He worked late, and when he came home, I was already asleep. So I just kind of raised myself. Ate like pizza. I gave me like $20 a week, whatever, or $20 a day, excuse me. And I learned how to make macaroni and cheese pretty good. So that came along. But that was like the first step of responsibility. And after that, my drill instructors at the Explorer Academy taught me more responsibility. I had to learn my California penal codes. I had to learn radio codes. I had to learn my city. I had to learn the map. I had to learn my streets. And being 13 years old, 13-year-olds really don't do that. I could have been playing video games on the weekend with my buddies, playing Call of Duty or something. That would have been great. That would have been awesome. But in hindsight, this was so much better. I'm so happy I invested my time in this. The responsibility and the discipline that I got out of this was incredible. It taught me how to shine my shoes, how to make sure my uniform is good, and the aspect and the camaraderie that I developed with other people was absolutely incredible. In this photo here, the caption is discipline. I stood still with that rifle for 35 minutes. You could not move at all, because if you did, then it would look sloppy. All the way on the right. So this is one of the many feats of discipline that I learned, and it really shapes you into who you are in the future. This is us after a competition here. We got second place out of 30 police departments. This is our first competition ever. We're really proud of ourselves. And these guys right here, I love these guys. We're guys. We don't really tell each other that. That's just what we do. But I really do love these guys. So I guess some takeaways from what I'm saying is be responsible. Take action. Go for that manager position. Go to the next step. Not only take responsibility of small things like, I don't know, make sure you take your shirt to the dry cleaner or something, but take more responsibility. Take responsibility of your life, and just make sure that you're always able to do more than you think you could. When I was doing that 4-mile run, I thought, okay, after this, I'm done. Okay, the second mile, I'm gonna quit. Third mile, I'm gonna quit. I never quit. So that just shows the power, that a person can have in believing themselves. And overall, just take responsibility of your lives and take responsibility of your own actions as well. So that's one of the takeaways. Thank you.
Now, if I may, I'd like to ask the audience a question. Can you name someone you consider smart? Can you raise your hand?
You? I'm about to say, yeah, you.
Well, for those of you who do, you are assuming that intelligence exists in the first place. But that, you may ask, real, Jan, what do you mean intelligence is real? Of course it's real. Isn't it fundamental to the human mind that some people are innately better than others, whether it be academically or just in talent in general? And, well, I have a problem with this. The reality is that we're completely misinterpreting the meaning of intelligence. What I mean by that is, here, let's take an example. So I work in math. I hope that wasn't a shock. Yeah, and so I'm going to go over the curriculum of math at our high school. So generally speaking, when you enter 9th grade, you'll start off anywhere from in any class from Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2. And then typically after that, you will take 4 math classes total, and you'll graduate with 4 credits. On the other hand, this is the average curriculum, if you want to say that. On the right-hand side, I have listed out my math list, starting from 9th grade to the 12th grade. So I've taken a total of 12 math classes so far. And just to give you a little context, I actually ended up failing Algebra 1 in 8th grade. I got a D+, and I had to retake it in 9th grade. And so I'm not actually going to reveal how I took 12 math classes, but because it's a little bit contradictory to my speech. That's another story. The point is, we see this, and I've been told that people think that I'm some kind of math god. I'm some kind of innate, genius that was born with some kind of skill. And I've always been a little bit confused by this, because when I was in 9th grade, people called me a failure. And then when I hit 11th grade and I was in BC, people thought I was some kind of that's where I hit the status. And so, essentially, it's always bugged me. And today I want to kind of question, why is it that when we see this advancement in math, but not only math in general, we consider that person to be intelligent? So there's a few things I think that are going on here. Well, the first thing is math in general is a very strange subject, where we see it as this kind of very discrete subject that's completely different. We think that it's something that only some people can do. And we kind of look at it and we freak out. And there's even a term for it. It's called math anxiety. You can look it up, and I'm sure some of you feel it. So the other thing, I think, and is kind of more of a broad approach, is that I think we consider people intelligent, or the concept of intelligence actually arises from the phenomena of comparing ourselves to others. Now, if you look here, it is true, I've taken 12 math classes. I've taken 3 times more math classes than the average student. What about that makes me somehow intelligent? And it's the fact that the average person does this, but I have decided to do this. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So, in light of comparison, I'd like to kind of compare it to English. So English is a class where it's just a subject in general that is much more broadly used. In fact, because we all live in America, we all speak English, and therefore it's not really surprising when somebody is able to perform well in their English classes even. And in fact, it's much more difficult to compare yourself in English, because in each grade there's only a regular and an honors class. But in math, this is a very distinct difference between math levels. You can see that somebody is either in Algebra 2 or Algebra 1 in 9th grade, and you can make that distinct difference and compare yourself to others. Now, I think this comparison is a little strange, and I've devised a simple thought experiment to kind of question it. Oh, great. That's what I do. Don't you just love technology? All right, so let's go running. Let's say I run a 5K, okay? And let's say you don't run 5K. Now my question here is, it is true I've run 5K before, but does the fact that you have decided not to run 5K say anything about your actual born ability to run? Or does it only say something about what you actually decide to do? And I'd argue that in fact, if you make kind of similar comparison, the fact that that I run and you decide not to doesn't actually say anything about our ability. It only says something about what we decide to do with our life. So, in light of that, I'd like to go back to the whole math concept. People think that essentially, when we look at this, individuals who perform better comparatively are more intelligent. But I believe that's a logical fallacy, and it's easy to see why. Yes, it's true. Yes, number 1, I take more math classes. Number 2, you refrain. But the conclusion is, does that actually say anything about your ability in mathematics? And I would argue it doesn't. In fact, I think it says absolutely nothing about your ability. So my proposition, in fact, is that intelligence isn't actually real. So if you look at my logic at the bottom, we essentially associate intelligence with some kind of exceptional comparative accomplishment that we get, whether it be in math, or other subjects, or even dancing, or whatever your extracurriculars are. But comparative accomplishments only tell us what we decide to do. It doesn't actually tell us anything about any special skills we're born with. And therefore, logically, I conclude that the relative notion of intelligence must be false. And so, I'd also like to point out that when you see that, it kind of triggers a strange reaction to you. You might look at it and be like, wow, that's weird. and you might say, okay, the person who did that is quite intelligent, but when you look at this, and just in general in life, I want you to question, when you think something has been done by an intelligent person, I want you to ask what leads you to conclude that. In fact, I would suggest that this is as admirable as doing poetry even. So my good friend here, Addison House, she is the LA Poet finalist, and she has performed extraordinary in her field, and I am incredibly proud of her. But the point is, she has taken the initiative to kind of go out of her way and pursue English and poetry, and she has done a phenomenal job. But I understand that her accomplishments or her ability to act doesn't say anything about my inability to, and I want you all to take that from this. Okay, So I'd like to transition onto the concept of success. And I think it's a little strange to me, the concept of success. It's this thing that we all kind of strive for, regardless of what we do with our lives. For example, scientists, they want to become well published, they want to make money. A politician, they want to be elected. They want to make change for what they believe in. But the overlying concept of success is that you, as an individual, take the initiative to do something greater with your life. And so, I question you, why do you want success? And you might say, that's a strange question, Jane. Why do you want success? But I really want us to question this, because what we consider success isn't necessarily success for us, is what I'm saying. What I mean by that is, do we really want success? Or is it something that other people want, that we simply think we want? What I mean by that is, let's just take a look at school. Why do you want good grades? Why do you want a high SAT score? Because you want to go to college. Because you want to get a good job, right? But is this what you want, or is this what something everybody at the school strives for, and therefore it leads you to want that? See, I think a lot of the things we do aren't really things that we want, but we're pretending like they are. And I think it's important that we recognize that, because we need to question, what really do we want, how much are we in control, and what can we do that will kind of essentially make us happier. And again, I do have something against these inspirational videos and inspirational talks that kind of define success for us, that say success is this kind of thing that is greater than the average person. Because I think that success cannot exist within a static definition. In fact, success is a very fluid concept that is very personal to you. That you can't tell everybody in this world what success is, because success is very personal to you. And so, essentially, that's why I don't like people telling me how to live my life. I guess I covered that. So, but the end goal, the overlying concept is we want to find something that we are going to enjoy. What do you actually want to do? What is going to make you happy? It is fine if what society thinks of success isn't what's going to make you happy. In fact, I think that the notion of success that society puts on us isn't going to be what I consider success. And what I mean by that is, well, there's a very strange, quote-unquote, successful man. His name is Tony Robbins. He gets about 3 hours of sleep a night. And so I am here, doing my college apps, and I'm like, well, what am I going to do with my life? I want to be successful. I want to do something good with my life, whatever that is. And essentially, if I continue my path, I end up in a place where I sleep for 3 hours because I'm overworking myself. I mean, I don't know about you, I really like my sleep. And I don't know why in the world I would work towards a future that doesn't grant me that. In fact, I want to work towards a future that gives me lots of sleep, even though it might not make me a lot of money. So yes, the not definition of success. Essentially, success requires us to question our motives, our wants and desires, right? And so the concept of success is essentially, I think, what we ought to do in order to enjoy our life, given our circumstances. In my opinion, success will not entail the amount of money I make in the future. It will not entail what I essentially, my mark. It's not going to essentially be that. It's going to be what makes me happy. And so a philosophical look at success I've kind of devised is, yes, we are alive. That is true, I think. Therefore, we must live. Now, we choose to recognize what we desire and what influences what we desire. It is either other people or it's you. And I'm not arguing that, in fact, you're able to get in total control. In fact, I think that you will never be in total control of your life. But that's a completely different philosophical idea. But I think there's importance, and there's importance in the notion that, of you trying to kind of ask yourself intrinsically, what is it that you want? And then actually questioning yourself as saying, well, what is it that I think I want that has been placed on me because other people want it? This is a very strict and distinct difference. And so therefore, I believe we ought to live life the way we enjoy. I wrote something down, I think. There's nothing unsuccessful about being happy, even if others disagree with it. So I challenge you to go home and think of what will make you successful, and not be entitled to what the world thinks will make you successful. Thank you.
So I have a really quick question for you guys. Raise your hand if you genuinely love to run. Wow, that's a lot more than I expected. I like it. Now for those of you who didn't raise your hand, doesn't running sound pretty dreadful? Yeah. But for me, it's one of my favorite things to do. Now bear with me. I want you to imagine yourself in running attire. You can take a knee for a little reference. And I would like to show you along my favorite course. And as we go along together, I will introduce you into the world of running. To begin our journey, I will share with you my story and why I strive to run every day. Then as we reach the back trail, I will share with you some amazing health benefits and so two amazing people that have changed my life. Then last but not least, we reach the climax, the end of the course, which has a giant hill, ironically nicknamed Suicide Hill. When you reach this hill, your willpower will be tested. We will come together, and when you reach the top, you'll think back to what I have told you today, and you'll realize that no matter what you do, if you put your mind to it, you can do it. Are you ready? Yeah. Let's go. I've been running for 4 years now, and I've both been running cross country and track. I've been a 4-year varsity runner, and as of 2 years ago, I became a private running coach. I coach a kid at the middle school who runs a 6:30 mile, and I coach a student at the high school who runs a little bit slower. But now, I've also coached people who can barely jog for 5 minutes. But I know everyone here falls into that range. And I know that by them trying every day, they can as well reach the same goals as any other runner. And I know all of you want to know, how can you find running fun? It hurts. And it's not going to be as enjoyable when you first start. When you first start running, you're not going to be like, wow, this feels amazing, yeah. You're going to finish like, oh, my back hurts. But as you continue to run and you keep going, you try every day. You go again and again and again. And as your habits change, you'll change yourself. And then in the beginning, if you push through the pain, you'll reach something called the runner's high. So that's the start. And then this runner's high is an almost indescribable feeling, a sensation that will wash over you. It will hit you at the oddest of moments. There's no specific point where you can say, you know, I'm going to hit my runner's high like second mile right now. It's something that comes out of nowhere. You're not expecting it to happen, but then all of a sudden, a wave of relief floods over you. You'll feel all the pain from that run just disappear. You'll feel relaxed. You'll feel calm. Sure, you'll be exhausted, but you won't feel the pain. And now this pain that you feel is your hardships, the burdens, even the muscle pains. But the most important thing is that your runner's high will hit you. And your runner's high is, in my opinion, how I like to think of it, as when you've beaten all the hardships in your life. It is when you have outraced and outpaced all the things that drag you down and hold you back. For people who have stuff going on in their lives that they don't want to talk about or that they'd rather not share, or like skeletons in the closet that they don't want to talk about, running is one of those things where it's almost a running therapy. If you can't talk to anybody about what happened, you can go for a run and you'll be able to pace yourself with those issues. You'll be able to outpace them and leave them behind, where you know they're there, but they don't have control over you. Now, I want you to listen for me, because I know it sounds crazy to have someone up here talking about running, when a lot of you don't like it, but running is going to help you cope with whatever things you're going through. You're stressed about college apps. You're stressed about home life. You're stressed about homework. You're stressed about teachers, sports, whatever it may be. Running can help you release that stress. It can help you calm yourself down in times of trouble, in times of torment. Now our first mile is down and we're going to move on to the back trail. We're now surrounded by wilderness. This is a dirt path. You're surrounded by trees. You're hearing the birds chirp. No cars. No smog. And now we're going to jump into the wild and fast-paced world of running. You have now entered the runner zone. Ladies first, are you aware that for women, running can help as a major contributor to help lower your risk for breast cancer by up to 30%? And for my guys that want to watch their girlish figure, their hourglass shape,